Great rising, living through your vision. Good afternoon. How's everyone? Happy Saturday. Wow, thank you for visiting my channel. And wow, I just wanted to come on here. I haven't been on here for the past couple of days because I like for, what I'm doing to be natural, to be authentic. Something that I actually meditate about in some cases that I feel like it's a little bit, it's profound and it's necessary. And quite often I ask myself, like, what was I looking for to understand, when I was going through my spiritual awakening, to which, you're always going through a spiritual awakening from what I from what I've gathered so far. So I'm like, what was I looking for, and what is it that I wanted to find? And so with that, it's inspiring me to put out content that I was in search for through my spiritual awakening and my spiritual journey. And one of the things that stood out to me in my meditation is, going through a spirit, recognizing your spiritual growth, and knowing when you've actually grown in an area. I was just having this conversation with my kids about certain things, and I said, you know what, I've noticed my growth, because one of the things that is always oftentimes mentioned is that when you no longer are in alignment with certain things, it just fades into black. It just fades into black. You don't even think about it. And I realized, like, wow, something that came to mind. I said, wow, I don't even have a desire or urge to even do those things anymore. And it was at that moment I'm like, wow, I really, really, truly have grown spiritually. Because when you start looking at these little entities, for me, it was about loving myself. I didn't know how to love myself. And I was always seeking out, looking for love, when the true essence of who I really am is love. And for me, I needed to love myself, because the answers was not ever outside of me. They were always, within me. But I felt like I needed to seek out in order to get, the love that I felt that I needed at the time. But the love that I felt that I needed was always within me. I just had to come back to it and recognize that it was there. So when I started to look at everything else of what I used to do and the things that I used to do to be in search for love and different things of that nature, I'm like, wow, I really have grown from that. Because it's like, it's only because I was talking to my daughter, it just brought up, like, I was like, wow, I don't even have a desire or an urge or anything. And, that conversation was, because like I said, we're always in service of each other. And I truly believe, even though I was giving her advice, and that conversation was also meant for me to show me where I've grown and how my spiritual self has grown. You'll notice little things, and when you notice it, it'll put a smile on your face, and you'll be like, oh wow, you know what I'm saying? It just, and because you have this energy that's within you that is so amazing, that you don't want to go back to that energy, because you clearly can decipher between the two energies, where you are now and what you were feeling at that time, and you clearly don't want to go back to that, but it does show you where you are, and how much you've grown spiritually and you've matured. And another thing too, that I go through these bouts, I call it spiritual bipolarism, right? Or 1 minute, like, you're euphoric, you're elated, you're happy, you feel positive, but then an hour later, 2 days later, 3 days later, you feel like, oh my gosh, like you're going through something, and you got these highs and you got these lows. Well, another thing that has shown me in my spiritual growth is how I'm even handle those things. Because when you have been, cultivated in an experience, based off of certain conformities and different things of that nature, that you made your truth, that you believed in, and different things of that nature, it's hard, for the ego to let go of those things. So the ego will constantly remind you of what you were, and your higher self is going to remind you of where you are and what you inspired to be, your journey, what it is that you're here for, and what you inspired to be. And a lot of times those two things, those two entities, energetic values, can clash, and you are having these multiple energies within yourself. So you have your highs and you have your lows, but it's what you decide to listen to when you're at your lowest point. Because if you listen to your higher self, it's going to pull yourself up and out. In the beginning, when people don't really understand what the hell is going on with them and different things, and they're feeling, all these, 1 minute they feel amazing, and like, yes, this is the beauty about it, and then the next they feeling like crap, like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? Especially when you're starting to get all of this information and you haven't yet put it in this proper place of understanding, and you might think that, oh, I'm deserving of this negative energy, not understanding that you're on a purge. You understand? You're purging everything that has cultivated you up until your whatever spiritual point that you're at. But the growth now, how you know that you're growing, at least in my journey, I realize that every time I feel like I'm going through something negative, or I feel like I'm taking 2 steps, back, there's my higher self comes to me and tells me that I'm amazing. You're going to be okay. You are okay. You are loved. My higher self start just inundating me with all of those positive affirmations of who I am spiritually, energetically, vibrationally. And what I'm going through, these low moments, are simply just purges that the ego is trying to hold on to, but the body and the physical aura is trying to get rid of, because now the higher self is now basically in control, like, because you have given it permission to be the primary existence in this physical experience. It's going to protect you, it's going to cover you, it's going to remind you of who you are, it's going to put things and people in your life and in places to remind you who you are. It's going to do that because you have given it permission for your higher self to be your primary here in your human experience. And then when you start having these lows or these negatives, and you feel bad and your body is going through all these things, just know it's a purging. It's a purging of things that you have, for the however older you are, or whatever intensity that you internalize that understanding. It's going to take that much intensity, if not more, to purge it out of your system, out of your aura, out of your energetic field. So sometimes and the reason that it feels like such a drop is because euphorically in your spiritual self, you're high vibration. You're here, you're feeling amazing, right? And then it's a drop. It's like feel like a 50-foot drop, like a plummet. You know what I'm saying? So this is why you feel so like, wow, it's so opposite, because when you allow your higher self, so imagine when you start to level out and you're at your higher self, and your higher self, let's look at a grid, like, to give you a visual. You know how when you download something and it's at 35%, and then you start seeing that it's at 50%, and then you're like, yes, I'm halfway there, and then you start seeing it at 75%, and you're like, yes, I just need to get it to 80, because then I only got 20% to go. It's like that. And then when you get up to that higher self, like, you just and you tend to level out, then you start to be like, yes, just like when the plane is ascending, it has to ascend. It's going against the grain, it's going against the turbulence, and then once it reaches the heights, then it levels out. Then hopefully it's smooth sailing, on your journey to your destination. So, just to give you a visual. But that's how it is. And you even know during your spiritual bipolarism, is what I call it. That's what I call it. But you'll know, you'll start to learn that where your growth is, even in that, your highs, your lows, and all of those things, you'll start to recognize those things in your growth. And that's the beauty. And the beauty about this experience is that it's not going to not let you know where you are energetically, vibrationally, and spiritually. If you don't know anything else based off of your surroundings, if you can't really pick it up by your surroundings, this is a clear and cogent way of understanding when you have these polar opposite feelings, where you're down one moment and you feel like crap, but then you realize that this is not you. When I see a dirty place, or if I see like something that is not in representation of who I am internally, I say this is not me. And because I've given my higher self permission to make sure that that's not me, and put me in to help me find myself where those reflections no longer exist, and thank you to higher self. I put out there, this is not me. This is not me. So if you're looking at your house and your home is dirty, and you say this is not me, it's not me. If you're looking at your job and the job is really making you feel somewhat like, you just say this is not me. You give your higher self permission to be to be your primary guidance in this, throughout this journey. And when you say it's not me, and you start saying what is you, then you'll come to a thing and say, well, this is not me. And then you'll grow into saying what is you. And you'll start saying, I am this, your I am affirmations of what is you, what resonates with you the most. And you start seeing the I am affirmations that goes along with that. And then you'll start seeing the transition of that. It's a beautiful experience. It's a dance. It's a waltz. And you'll learn how to understand where you are energetically, vibrationally, and spiritually, just by your immediate surroundings, by how you allow your inner self to be your primary. You'll realize that the ego is going to talk it to your mind and talk it to your head, but then you can start differentiating the energetic value of even those conversations with yourself. That's why I always say, no weapons formed against me shall prosper, but I always say to no weapons that I form against myself shall prosper either. Because you don't want, sometimes we, in a sense of naivete or just not really realize, not knowing, we set battles for ourselves, unnecessary ones. And when you start putting those things out there and you become more aware, you're going to say those things because you realize that the greatest enemy is inner me. It's within yourself, inner me. So your greatest enemy is sometimes yourself, and you put yourself in a situation where it's not beneficial to you financially, energetically, vibrationally, emotionally, and different things of that nature. And trust me, all of that kind of somewhat ties into this whole sense of experiences and understanding. So you'll get it, you'll learn it. Don't fret, don't be afraid. Just know those down moments and those body aches and all of those things, those ascension symptoms and different things, is your body purging from the I thinks to the I knows. You start to become more aware, and your body is purging and getting rid of those things. And all you have to do is, when you're having those feelings, is to say what you recognize what you're not, and what is presenting itself to you, and what is mirroring itself to you. And if you don't like what is being mirrored in front of you, then you're saying this is not me, this is not me. And it sends out a signal to the universe, to your higher self, to give you the affirmations within yourself of what is you. You are wealthy, you are healthy, you are, well, of course you're not going to say you are, you're going to say I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am love, I am all the things that what it is that you believe yourself to be, that brings you the greater peace. And everything is different. Everybody, what contributes to people's peace is totally different. It has its own unique value individually. So, and that's a beautiful thing, because you're exclusively created. So those are the things that I wanted to put out there to say to you guys in terms of, when I was going through ascension aches and stuff, and like this, the like the Kundalini thing, it had me literally. I had a different car from this. I went to the park, and I got into a space because I didn't want nobody to see me, because I didn't want nobody to think that I was having fits or whatever the case may be. And I would go to a park, I would isolate myself to a park, and at that time I could fit underneath the steering wheel, and I myself was going through these vibrations and I don't know, it wasn't convulsions, but it just had me like this, like, and I ended up like in a fetal position underneath the steering wheel down here in the bottom underneath. I had a different car at the time, but I was able to fit under there, and that was the only way that I did it in secrecy. Like, I did it in secrecy because at the time, people didn't understand what was going on, and I didn't want nobody to deem that I was losing it, and I just did it in secrecy. Like, I went through that major download. I think that was around about 2011, 2012, something around in there, where I was getting inundated. When I say it was, the intensity was just so intense. It was so intense. I can't even describe it to, I could feel it. I still remember it, but it was just so intense that I would just ball up like this. And I was having these waves of and I said, if I was going crazy, if I'm crazy, I wouldn't know that I was crazy. So obviously this is something that is beyond my, my comprehension, because a crazy person don't really know that they're crazy. But then I was going through that, and I was like, oh my God. So if I didn't know how, I wish I had something like that to tell me what it is. And then now I know what it is. And now I'm handling my ascension growth, a bit better. It gets me, but it's, now I understand it, and I reached my higher self. It was so intense at one time. I said I couldn't take it. Like, give me a break. And you can ask for a break, like they'll give you a break, but you still have to go through it. And I decided, after that first one that kind of freaked me out, and I said I needed a break, and then another one happened, I decided to go through it, because then I said, whatever it is, I needed to go through it. And I'm glad I did, because now I'm at a place where I can now start recognizing my growth and understand, what that was at that time. And and it's still, I wouldn't change a thing. It was a beautiful experience. It was, it was kind of rough, but it had me literally balled up in a fetal position. And I was like, whoa. But so these are the things that I want to put out there. Some of the things that I want to put out there, the things that I went through in my way, spiritual awakening, my ascension, and these ascensions. And know that you're going through a purge. It's not, it feels like you're bipolar, but it's a purging. And all you got to do, for me, what worked for me, is to say what I am not, and start saying what I am. You understand? What I am. And when you look around and you you see poverty and stuff like that, then you got to start telling yourself that you are wealthy. You are wealthy. You got to start saying what it is that you want, if what you're seeing in front of you is not who you really truly are. Okay. So with that being said, peace and love, everybody. It's a beautiful day in Zamunda. Happy Friday. Today is the 11th day, January the 11th. I am grateful. I am humble. I am thankful. And I hope that you guys are having an amazing day. And, if we are here to, be of service to each other, so, do that in the best way that you possibly know how. And just be your authentic self, whatever that is needed to cultivate that. The truth of you is the most important thing. The truth of you, start recognizing it, start listening to your inner self and being true within yourself, and then it'll start to reflect around you. So with that being said, love you guys. And if you like this video, please like it. If you like the content that I'm providing, please subscribe. And, if, share if you feel like somebody needs to hear this information that's going through an ascension. And comment, what are your ascension experiences, and what you're going through, and how it has made you feel, because it could help somebody. Each one teach one. All right, so love you guys, and I shall commence to talking with you guys later. Love you. Bye.